All right, let's meet Mr. Green, who we fighting for, who I'm fighting for, who I want to see out of prison for the murder of James Jordan. Let's meet him and let's hear what he says happened at the party, the night of the party, when Mr. Demery busted in the party, acting irate. The evening before the murder began, ordinarily enough, Green says he was with Demery and other friends at a cookout at his godmother's home in a nearby trailer park. But Green says that Demery left around 1:30 a.m., saying he needed to tend to business for a drug-related trip to New York the next day. Now let's pause right there. A drug-related trip. Remember in part two, I told y'all that the sheriff's biological son was a drug trafficker. Now, Demery, Green, according to Green, he says that Demery left around 1:30 a.m., saying he needed to go take care of some business for a drug-related trip to New York. Now, let's continue, but remember those. They're drug-related. Sheriff, son is a drug dealer. Demery, talking about he got to go make preparations for a trip to New York. Green contends that Demery asked him to come along, but that he declined in order to spend more time with a female acquaintance. Before dawn, Green says, Demery returned and seemed shaken. According to Green, he said, I had never seen him like that before. I had seen him in situations where he was upset. I had seen him in situations where he was scared, but this was just a different level. Demery did not respond to a letter sent to him in prison requesting an interview. I wouldn't. Green, meanwhile, alleges that Demery told him he had been involved in an altercation and shot a man near the Quality Inn just off US 74 and I-95. Green says Demery begged for help. The two teens, according to Green, then drove back to the motel. And it was there, Green says, that he saw the dead body for the first time in a ditch beside a small store next to the Quality Inn. Hold up. How did he get from the car to the ditch and a hotel? Green describes the choice he faced: either turn his back on a longtime friend whom he considered a brother, or help Demery cover up the murder. Not long after, the two friends stood on P Bridge across the South Carolina border and dumped George's body into Gum Swamp. I just didn't know how to listen to my conscience back then, Green says. I didn't recognize that voice. I guess it was maybe the mentality of saying, okay, this is my dude. I'm a real man. Like, I'm a real man because my friend needed me and I was there for my friend. 25 years later, Green says he wishes he had the strength to deny Demery's urgent request. He says, when I was a kid I used to read these books called Choose Your Own Adventure books, when you make one decision and turn the page. It's kind of like it was. You look back and think, man, if I had done this instead. Okay, let's let that sink in for a minute, and let's before we get into this evidence, let's recap on everything via courtesy of video. True.
Have refused any comment. 4 people have been arrested for stripping and stealing the elder Jordan's car found last week in Fayetteville, North Carolina. None of those charged are said to be murder suspects. Jordan's body was found August 3rd. The Jordan family has released a statement saying they are shocked by the sudden loss. They're withholding further comment while the investigation is underway.
Or in Lumberton, North Carolina. Mr. Jordan had pulled off the side of the road to rest for a while, and he was shot to death while in his car and was taken to the state of South Carolina and placed into the swamp where he was found.
Police findings seem to confirm the idea that they had yesterday that this was merely a random act of violence and not a premeditated murder. Again, throughout the morning, we'll continue to bring you the latest information we have on the arrest of 2 suspects in the murder of James Jordan. Now, private funeral services will be held this afternoon in Wallace, North Carolina.
James Jordan, the father of basketball superstar Michael Jordan, Larry Demery and Daniel Green also face charges of armed robbery and conspiracy to commit armed robbery. Their next court appearance is set for September 3rd.
I have a confession. I don't use that word, but I will give you that we do have statements from both defendants.
What about the guns? You have a murder weapon.
We do not have the gun in our possession at this time. We're still working on that to recover the gun.
2 18-year-olds accused of murdering the father of basketball star Michael Jordan appeared in court. Daniel Green, who had already spent time in jail for assault, and Larry Demery, who was under indictment for armed robbery, are good friends. They are both being held without bail. ABC's Jim Hickey is in North Carolina.
Jordan family at all? As the 2 teenagers arrived for their appearance in Robeson County Court, North Carolina investigators said they had concrete evidence linking Daniel Green and Larry Demery to the murder of James Jordan. After questioning the suspects, deputies said they found a National Basketball Association All-Star ring in a plastic bag, hidden in a rural part of the county. Michael Jordan apparently had given the ring to his father.
These 2 defendants did have or was with Mr. Jordan at one point in time, because that we do know where that ring come from. It did belong or was in possession of Mr. Jordan.
According to authorities, Jordan was killed along this stretch of North Carolina highway in the early morning hours of July 23rd. Driving to Charlotte, he apparently had pulled over to rest and was shot in his car. Police say the teenagers dumped his body in a South Carolina swamp about 60 miles away. Investigators say the 2 teenagers did not set out specifically to murder James Jordan, but that he just happened to be their victim when they went looking for someone to rob. The suspects apparently made several calls from the telephone in Jordan's luxury car. That's how detectives tracked them down. In court, Demery and Green said very little, but Demery at one point appeared to be weeping. This was merely a preliminary appearance. Their pleas of guilt or innocence will come later. Jim Hickey, ABC News, Lumberton, North Carolina.
Slaying perhaps occurred at the hands of third parties, not Mr. Demery, not Mr. Green.
So are you saying that your client and Mr. Green may have stumbled across a corpse?
There may very well be some evidence that would be the case. Yes, ma'am.
North Carolina authorities maintain there is no mistake and that, quote, we've got the right people. Tests on a .38 caliber gun believed to be the murder weapon could link the suspects to the killing. Results of the test are expected next week.
I haven't really made my definite plans for the rest of the summer. I think this was just more or less a testing thing for me to come and see how well I can respond again for the summer. And right now, everything's tender for my schedule from this point on. But I just wanted to come and see how I could react in these circumstances again.
So you haven't considered preseason at this point either?
Basketball? I haven't even thought about basketball. I didn't even think about basketball before all this happened. So, right now it's just the summer, relaxing, and enjoying the company that I am in right now. It was a lot of times where I didn't know if I was going to make it here, and I know I've committed myself, but under the circumstances, I really didn't know. And I knew some of the people, and Rose gave me a list of the people that's going to be here, and it's good people to be around, especially when you need that support. Now we're together, we bonded, and naturally it's tough for anybody to swallow, not just my family, any family that has this type of circumstances to deal with.
Had given him the most support since his father's death. Yesterday, the Charlotte Observer reported that Hugh Rogers, the attorney for one of the teenagers accused of killing James Jordan, has new information concerning the case. Rogers now believes that the two suspects are innocent, that someone else murdered James Jordan, and then the two teens stumbled upon James Jordan's car. Jordan also expressed his displeasure with the speculation in the media involving his father's death. Again, Michael Jordan will speak publicly for the first time since his father's murder in just a few minutes.
Jordan, looking casual in his golf attire, kept things lighthearted and talked about the support he's got in the past week.
I'm enjoying myself. I think Jim Thorpe took me out for a nice little lesson last night. But I'm telling you, it's like being around good friends. And when you have some problems in your life, or you need to be around a good support system, and these people have done a good job in support. I just got to move forward.
The man convicted of killing the father of NBA superstar Michael Jordan says he's innocent. James Jordan died in 1993. Andre Green and his friend Larry Demery were both charged with murder. Demery testified Green pulled the trigger, killing Jordan in the car where he'd been sleeping.
And of course, I'm pissed to a certain degree, because I know that I've been here for 17 years, for something that I really didn't have nothing to do with.
Green says a new report reveals mistakes at North Carolina's crime lab. The 35-year-old is trying to get his case back in court and has filed a motion on his own.
First of all, you have them withholding potentially exculpatory evidence.
The latest development in Green's case hinges on blood evidence. Back in 1996, an investigator testified she found a small amount of blood in the passenger seat of Jordan's car. But the latest report reveals the crime lab only found indications of blood during an initial test, and 4 follow-up tests were inconclusive. Green's case is one of nearly 200 under review. Other mistakes at the lab have led authorities to call for a criminal investigation.
Already see me walking out of these doors, and that's what's, inspired me and kept me going. So this is just something else that pretty much confirms that I'm on the right path.
Green says he was not present when Jordan died, but has admitted he helped dispose of the body. He's also admitted to using Jordan's car and taking his jewelry. Son Michael Jordan has declined to comment.
The man accused of killing Michael Jordan's father, James, back in 1993 is in court today seeking a new trial. Attorneys for Daniel Green are arguing that evidence used to convict him was thin at best and would not hold up in court today. This is a look at Green at one of his previous court appearances. Ballistic evidence in the case was inconclusive, and witnesses' statements in the case have changed over time. Attorney Chris Muma is also arguing that Green's right to due process was violated and he did not have effective counsel at his previous trials. While Green has admitted to being an accessory after the fact and accepting stolen goods, a jury previously sentenced him to life in prison plus 10 years. Our Holden Karicki is in the courtroom today, and he will have the very latest on this case.
Starting out, when you think about your stake here today, why for you is this still worth fighting for you? There's a lot of people that would.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, if you're innocent of something, then you want to keep fighting because you're really fighting for, reality. It's like somebody's not just making an accusation against you, but somebody is taking something that is not true, and everybody's perceiving that as reality. So if you know what reality is, and you're trying to, just trying to protect this, it's almost a matter of protecting your own sanity.
All right, y'all, we made it through that. There's Mr. Green. He has spoken, you have seen him, everything, pretty much the meat of the story and the circumstances. I introduced you to the sheriff. I showed you pictures of his son. I showed you pictures of young Green and young Demery. And now it's the moment that I've been waiting for, which is to break down this damn evidence or lack thereof once again. And we're gonna see if we can get some light shed on Mr. Green, since he's the last man standing under these strange, oftentimes normal, not too surprising circumstances. And we'll do what we can. True. See y'all in a minute.